Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Granth Srimad Bhagavatam class Ki Jai Hare Krishna. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I'll just recite this verse and we'll look at the translation and then I'll speak a little bit and we can have a discussion. Is it all right? Okay. Ayushriyam yasho dharmam lokanashishaivacha hanti shreyanshi sarvani pungso mahad atikrama. This is from 10th canto, chapter 4, verse number 46. आयुष्यं यशो धर्मम् लोकानाशीषेव च हन्ति श्रेयांसि सर्वाणि पुंसो महदतिक्रमः आयु the duration of life shriyam beauty yashaha fame dharma religion loka elevation to higher planets ashishaha blessings eva indeed cha also hanti destroys shreyamsi benedictions sarvani all pumsaha of a person mahat atikramaha trespassing against great personalities. Would you want to recite the verse again and then take turns also? Yeah? Okay. Ayushyam yasho dharmam lokanashisheva cha hanti shreyansi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha ayushyam yasho dharma lokashisha eva cha hanti shreyansi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha ayushyam yasho dharmam lokanashisha cha hanti shreyansi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha. Anyone more to chant?
Ayushriyam yasho dharmam
Ayushyam yasho dharmam
lokanashisha eva cha hanti shreyansi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha.
Ayushriyam yasho dharmam
Ayushyam yasho dharmam
lokanashisha eva cha
lokanashisha eva cha
hanti shreyansi sarvani
hanti shreyansi sarvani
pumso mahadatikramaha.
Ayushriyam yasho dharmam
Ayushyam yasho dharmam
lokanashisha eva cha
lokanashisha eva cha
hanti shreyansi sarvani
hanti shreyansi sarvani
pumso mahadatikramaha.
pumso mahadatikramaha.
Ayushriyam yasho dharmam lokanashisha eva cha hanti shreyansi sarvani pumso mahadatikramaha. Ayushyam yasho dharmam lokan ashish eva cha hanti shreyamsi sarvani pumso mahad atikramaha.
Anyone else?
Ayushriyam yasho dharmam lokan ashisha eva cha Anti Shreyamshi Sarvani Pumso Mahat Atikramaha.
Translation: when a person mistreats great souls, his lifespan, opulence, reputation, religion, possessions, and good fortune are all destroyed. Okay. My dear king, when a all right. So, my dear king, when a man persecutes great souls, all his benediction of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. So, this is an opinion expressed by the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam when he was answering the questions asked by a great king, Parikshit Maharaj. And the speaker is Shukadev Goswami. If you look at the verse in Sanskrit, if you can go on, the verse itself, or if you look at the word for word translation, you are not going to find reference to my dear king. Is that true? So, since this is not a standalone verse, this is a conversation. So, in the translation, the context has been given. So, please don't be surprised. There's no mention to a king in the verse. The context has been mentioned here that Shukadeva Goswami is addressing the king, Parikshit. And Shukadeva Goswami has a lot of reverence for the king. So, my great king. So, the main principle on which this verse is based is about how there can be atikrama. And what could be the results of atikrama? So, very basic understanding of atikrama is actually two words. There is a prefix to a word. So, ati is the prefix, kramaha is the verb form. So, kramaha indicates action. Atikramaha means unnecessary or that which is unneeded. Actions which are unnecessary, unneeded, or actions that are harmful. So it could have any of these meanings. Basically, when one is being motivated by emotions that are unhealthy, then the actions could be devastating. Either the actions that we perform could bring about chaos and destruction in the external world or internally with our own emotions. So Mahat Atikrama. Mahat means great. Here, the term Mahat is being used to refer to persons too. So it is not that always Mahat would be personalities. Mahat means great. So what is great here? Personalities. That is the meaning that is being inferred. So Mahat Atikrama means when one trespasses or transgresses in actions against great personalities. How does one know who is great? Therefore, good advice is often offered to humans that one must try and always perform one's actions with healthy intent. Always, with all living entities. If one gets into the habit of thinking of one's welfare with respect to others' welfare too, then one is very, very aware of one's actions. Now, if one acts with great care and concern in all our dealings with every living entity, if one happens to come in contact with someone that is really powerful, that helps. For example, every person who comes to our temple, we offer them some prasad. We offer them a book. Or at least we offer them good words or words of respect. We offer them at least something. Now, if unknowingly that person happens to be Elon Musk, we don't know, then he may get impressed with our behavior and say, hey, I would like to offer this donation to you. So you see, if one cultivates the habit of having healthy dealings with all living entities, it's helpful if one contacts a person of great prowess occasionally. On the other hand, if one is dealing with living entities with disdain and one gets habituated to just considering people to be trash and behaving with them accordingly, and if unknown to us, we are not aware of who Elon Musk is, if he comes here, there could be serious implications about it, isn't there? So this is the context, or this is how we have to understand these teachings or these perspectives that have been offered. They are very, very simple teachings that can be applied by one and all in one's day to day interactions. We cultivate certain habits, and so becomes our character, and so becomes our actions. Correct? So, here, Shukdev Goswami is really trying to psych us He's like bringing forth a horror movie for us. That is how he's presenting this. If we happen to trespass against great personalities, then we have a lot to lose. If the person is reactive, or if the powers to be that are with that person are reactive in nature, then we suffer great loss. Let us say there is a celebrity comes to visit us. This is just an example. We are like cut off from the world, right? We have no access to social media. So we don't know celebs. Do we know celebrities? We don't. At least we should try to put up that facade. It's helpful. At least if you start believing in that, then that is how it start acting. One of the ways to decongest, decongest our life, especially with social media, start believing that this facade is important for us. People should not think that I'm addicted to social media. And at least in our external dealings, we try to control our cravings. And then slowly, maybe when we are in private, it would work too. So it could be helpful. Sometimes imitation is good, or trying to put on a show is good. Sometimes. But if you're wanting to cheat someone, cheat yourself, then it's not good. If your intent is that you want to help yourself and you put on a show to help yourself without or not at the expense of others, then putting on a show is helpful because it helps you train yourself. Like in the beginning years of Krishna consciousness, the first time I ever saw Kartal, the symbols? The first time. And I see the rest of the people like really being masters at it. Later on, I realized that they were also beginners, but I thought they were masters. Like ching, 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 ching. So I picked up the kartas and I would just imitate them, put on a show. Because I knew that if there are 5 people playing the symbols, my playing of symbols would be drowned in that sound. So that gave me courage. Then slowly I picked it up. I also asked others, and then I picked it up. Slowly, the right side of my brain cooperated with my left side, and I developed some creativity, and also I learned the technique. So helpful. Intent is always very important. It's a drag. Always trying to pay attention to your intent. Really drains your energy. Sometimes people therefore just want to be carefree. The best way to be carefree is to be very, very solid inside, have a lot of substance inside. Those who are very, very stable internally find it very easy to be carefree in the world. Isn't it? So, what does one lose? Duration of life. Why is that? Because of stress. It's a very stressful situation. So there's a lot of pressure on your internal organs. They overwork. This is a machine, ultimately, the body. If the rate of deterioration is more than the rate of rejuvenation, then obviously span of life is going to decrease. So this does not seem too far-sighted, right? So Ayu, duration of life. Shriyam, beauty. stress, dark circles. There's a correlation, isn't it? So beauty is lost. Yasha, fame, people would want to stay away from you because you have drawn upon yourself the ire of someone powerful. They're like, hey, we don't want to be there with them. Dharma, religion, against stress. To practice religion, you definitely need the support of your community. Loka, elevation to higher planets. It's like it's so difficult to get a $10 million home now. That's like the higher planets. So elevation to higher planets. Those particular zones which are beyond your capacity. You do not have the capacity to buy those pleasures or those facilities. So elevation to heavenly planets or higher planets. Ashisha, blessings. Lesser interaction with the community, lesser blessings. Hanti, Shreyamsi. So whatever benedictions we have, where are we going to use those benedictions? Someone blesses us with a house. So at the most we can live with it, but the other facilities that the house needs, maintenance, where are we going to get a plumber? Because the plumber shuns us now, doesn't want our business. We have offended someone powerful in the community. So very practical. Now you want to make it esoteric, you can make it esoteric too. It's up to you. How you want to apply that in your life. So, why is Parikshit being addressed here with this information? Because this is from the 10th canto, and the situation is that the great king Kansa has just been totally confused, is stressed, feels depressed, and has almost given up hope in life. What brought about this state of consciousness within Kansa? Yogamaya. So there was a lady in the sky within a chamber who spoke words that sounded like doomsday to Kamsa. My dear king, the person who's going to be that personified by you has already appeared somewhere else, beyond your reach. So Kansa was trying to see if he can kill death, his own death, if he can bring an end to his own death. He was trying to do that. Somehow he received some information that death would visit him in a certain way. The eighth son of his sister Devaki would be the cause of his death. So he had received that information. Kansa was a very educated person. So when he got this information, he knew that this was true information from very, very reliable sources. When we are informed, we are told that it was a voice in the sky. But Kansa knew that the voice in the sky is from reliable sources. It's like sometimes you receive email on your private, for which only you have private access, your mail. So everyone is wondering, hey, where do they get the information from? Inside trading information. So Kansa got inside information. Someone passed on this information. He became very concerned. He said, all right, I'm going to imprison Devaki and I'm going to kill her eighth son. Did not happen. The eighth son was Krishna. Krishna made arrangements to be transferred to another place out of Kansa's reach. And then this lady disappeared. So now Kansa is like, he has been faced with certain data that he can no longer analyze, seek more information. And that data seemingly is his doom. So that really makes a person depressed. It's like you go to the doctor and the doctor says, um, I have news for you. Good news and bad news. Which would you like to hear first? Human psychology. If a doctor is offering you news, you want to hear the bad news first because good news will elate you later on. That's how typically a human would react. So, yes, doc, bad news. You have untreatable cancer. What's the good news, doc? Oh, sorry, I messed up the whole thing. The good news. The good news is that you have untreatable cancer, but 1 year to live. And what is the bad news? I was supposed to give you this information last year. So, anyways, you go to a doc and the doc says, I can confirm the fact that you have only 5 days to live. Well, that's how Kansa felt. But he had his friends, powerful friends, the Senate, Kansa's Senate, because Kansa is a king. So he has his ministers. So they all come to Kansa and say, hey, you're so powerful. You've defeated even the demigods, the devatas. They fear you. And they have come up with this plot, but you will easily defeat them like you have done in the past. Just look at you. And we are your friends. And we also have a good portfolio. You know, we're also people of great caliber. So, that's sure. So Shukadeva Goswami says, my dear king, Kansa decided to persecute all the children and all the sages and all the people that were connected to Vishnu. Then he makes this statement that one goes down that route. One is simply advancing one's death sentence. Because you may die whenever you have to die, but if you live death every single day in stress like this, you really lose out. Now, this verse has also been quoted by a very, very gentle personality about 550 years ago. This was a time when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visible on this planet and he was interacting with the people on this planet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have Mahaprabhu here. According to the scriptures, Srila Prabhupada and other teachers have explained that he is Krishna himself and he'll also come with the mood of his internal potency, Srimati Radharani. So the Lord and his energy have come in a combined form, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a member of human society, takes to the renounced order of life at 24 years of age. On the insistence of his mother, he decides to become a resident sannyasi. Sometimes, typically, sannyasis are people who move around. His mother insisted upon him that please take up residence at Jagannath Puri. So he becomes a resident sannyasi at Jagannath Puri. There he meets a great scholar and a very gentle person, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Typically in India, thousands, thousand-year-old thousands of years old civilization. So somewhere or the other, you're going to find some of your great, great, great ancestors being related to each other, somewhere or the other. And the population has not really migrated a lot. So, understanding this fact, people in India consider everyone to be at least people around them that they have lived with their entire life, like the village or the small community that they live in, from 300 members to 3,000 members. They're like, oh, they are extended family. It's just the way it is. Things are changing now because of migration. So they are kind of going away from their roots. But as I said, the civilization is like, at least according to modern day understanding, it's about 5,000 years old. They say that. So their descendants are still here. If they try to trace back their roots, they'll find that, hey, even my wife could be related in some way to me, like about 100 generations ago. But by then, we know scientifically that the DNA has really, the genes have really mutated a lot. So there's a lot of genetic distinction, a lot of genetic distinction. Emotions. As soon as you meet somebody from California in Europe, you're like, hey, you're from California. Wow. Which part? The Bay Area. Now you feel more connected to them. Now, if you had met them, when you were in the Bay Area, you hardly would have cared about somebody else in the Bay Area. But you meet them in Europe, or you meet them in Asia, you're like, you feel that connection. Yeah. Chitra Buddhi, being connected to that land. So, Sarvam Bhattacharya, he was from the same village as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ancestors. How many of you have some idea about the land of India and its customs? If you haven't, yeah, some of you who grew up there or migrated from there, you know. But for those who don't, if you come to India, you would be very, very surprised to see that they have a lot of aunts and uncles. In fact, if you go there and a young child sees you, and if your name is, let's say, Robert or Anne, they'll say, Robert uncle. The child would say like that. And for the child, it simply means that uncle is going to give him some candy. That's all. But you may be like overwhelmed. Oh, my God, they're so loving here. They have such affection. Like here, if you call somebody, hey bro, it could be taken in a good way or a negative way. Sis could be a little more difficult because of in the past there's some history of these words being abused. There's some negative connotations to it. But in India, if you say bro means brother. I mean, they feel they are completely comfortable with it. Totally comfortable with it. So Sarvam Bhattacharya tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm your uncle through village relationships. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, you are my uncle, I'm a nephew. So they have a great bonding now. Plus, there's some philosophical discussion also, and he realizes that, hey, this person is so brilliant. According to my estimations about what I understand about philosophy, this brilliance is the manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So he accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Absolute Truth. His perspective, freedom of expression. So we also like to accept the fact that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of God. One day, Sarvam Bhattacharya invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house for lunch. Why did he invite him for lunch? Because he saw everyone else inviting him for lunch. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was from Bengal. Bengal is another state. That is the state where he was born. And he moved to Jagannath Puri, which is in Orissa. In those days it was called Utkal. So a lot of Bengalis, the residents of Bengal, who had spent such wonderful times with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come to visit him. So many of them had seen him grow up. He would visit their homes. They would offer him food. He would accept it. So when he had taken sannyas and had come to Jagannath Puri, they also would visit him. And when they would visit Jagannath Puri, if they would live in Jagannath Puri for a few days, few weeks, or a few months, they would make it a point to invite him for lunch. Why just lunch? Because Mahaprabhu would not take dinner. Lunch. So they would invite him for lunch. Another cultural context is that if you have the opportunity to invite a great personality for lunch to your house, then it kind of helps you to develop a relationship with that person. Therefore, it is a custom in Vedic tradition to invite people in the renounced order for prasad or food to your house. Because when they are there, they're totally yours. It's like a private audience with them. So now you can have discussions with them one on one. So he invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to his house, he is very much surprised. So we are going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you want, we can pull it up on the screen. Madhya Leela, 15th chapter, verse 225. 15.225. Alaukika Ishava Anavyanjana Tui Prahara Bhitare Kaiche Huilo Randhana. 15.225 if you search database. Alaukika Ishava Anavyanjana. Says, my God, so many preparations. Alaukik. So the English translation is, this is most uncommon. Alaukik means this is heavenly. I mean, making so many preparations is impossible for a human. This is not human endeavor. You have been specially empowered to do this. My God, where did you get this power from? So, alaukik. How did you make all of this arrangement of rice and vegetables, and that too within do prahara, dui prahara? So, prahara is a measurement of time that is used according to Vedic astrology. In Vedic astrology, prahara is a measurement of time. So, one prahara is about 3 hours. Hence, a day, an entire day, which means sunlight and moon time, all included. An entire day is called as Ashta Prahara or 8 praharas, which basically is 24 hours. All right, and there are certain reasons why a prahara is made up of muhurtas. Muhurtas is made up of gandhas, and each of this is helpful to understand what could be the influence of time on our lives or on the vegetation. It's just astrology. So that is why these measurements are taken. So he says Dui Prahara means about 6 hours. So within 6 hours, you have so many preparations. Even 100 men cooking on 100 stoves could not possibly finish all of these preparations within so short a time. Now 100 has been used because typically here we speak in thousands. Thousands of lifetimes. In India, typically they speak in Shataka, hundreds of lifetimes. Hence, this is just the customary way of speaking there. What it means is that dozens and dozens of people, if they had put in their efforts, it would still be difficult for them to come up with so many preparations in such a short time. And then it says, I hope you have offered the food to Krishna. I think you have offered it because I can see the tulsi leaves on these offerings. So the offering is done. So in Bengali families, even today, and even on our altar, when we make offerings, because that is the Vedic tradition, when you offer a plate of food to the Supreme Lord, you also offer an asana or a seat. You offer an asana for the Lord to come and sit down and partake of the food. So he sees the tulsi leaves there and he also sees the asana. Now at a temple, if we have asanas here, asanas are like this small, like doll asanas, doll seats. In some Bengali families, they actually have big asanas. It's as if a human can sit there. So that is how, when we try to serve the Lord, we try to serve the Lord according to how we would treat another human. Because a human, according to us, according to our existence, is the most evolved form that we are dealing with. So our dealings have to be a little very sophisticated with humans. Beyond that, we don't know any relationship as humans, do we? We cannot interact with AI, artificial intelligence, if that manifests, or a hologram. So, and if we have to interact with, reciprocate with, or have dealings with other species of life, then those dealings are a little different. They are not as sophisticated. Like, you won't meet your dog and cat or your parrot and say, hey, how are you? The parrot is not going to reply back. I'm good. What about you? Thank you. And it's perfectly okay. If your dog just says, wow, wow, or something like that, just makes a sound, or parrot just squeaks, You're like, yeah, that's equivalent to saying, I'm good. What about you? But if a human starts squeaking, you're like, why are you doing that? Why are you squeaking like a parrot? So the dealings are a little different. Hence, although the Supreme Lord is not human, we wanting to have reciprocation with the Lord as humans, we are humans, so we come up with the best behavior. We come up with the best behavior. And the best behavior is manifested in human interactions. And that is how, when we interact with the Lord, we put on our best human behavior with the Lord. Please come and have a seat. Please accept this food. Yeah. So, Lord Chaitanya says, Sarvam Bhattacharya, Krishna must really be so pleased with you. Just look at the way you're serving him. Like he really had gone beyond all expectations. Like every Sunday you go for a feast and then you come on Janmashtami, like, wow, so many preparations, overwhelming. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then, if you're used to the dealings here at the temple, you're like, today Krishna must have really enjoyed all of these preparations. Otherwise, every day we may just offer him some khichdi, four items. Today there are hundreds of items. Janmashtami, special day for Krishna, or God Purni. Anyways, so he says you're so fortunate because you have made so many offerings to the Lord. Krishna must be so pleased with your sincere efforts. Now, please take away all of this food. The idea being that you can distribute it to, there's so much of food, so you need a lot of recipients, so please distribute it to them. And you've invited me for lunch, Prashad, for lunch. So I'll take a small bit, a little bit, a small part. So you can give me a little plateful. And please tell me where I can sit to take Prashad. Sarvam Bhattacharya looks at him and says, you can sit on that asana of Krishna. And please accept this little plateful, all of it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes his eyes really big as if he's astonished. It's like, Sarvabhaum, I mean, I really respect you, but this sounds crazy. Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Sometimes, how do we say it here? When you use the pronoun the as the man, you are the man, the lady, or something like that. So you understand that the, the T is really like going all the way up to Mars, that big. So he calls him Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya is like His Excellency, something like that. Your Excellency, Sarvabhaumaji, Bhattacharya. I don't think this is a good idea because you're transgressing etiquette here. Sarvam Bhattacharya says, my dear Lord, first of all, I did not really exert myself, nor did my wife really put in any extra efforts to make all of this food. It's not my doing. And this place, the seat, is Krishna's blessing now, because Krishna has used this seed, just as Krishna has accepted the food. So since you accept the food as prasad, accept the seed as prasad also. Good logic. If you can accept one item as Krishna's blessings, then the other also is Krishna's blessings too, because it has been touched by Krishna. Well, there are two perspectives to this. One perspective is that this is all right. Why? Because obviously prasad has been touched by Krishna, food has been touched by Krishna, and then you eat it as prasad. That means you consume it, you use it. So if a dress has been worn by Krishna, you can also wear it. If shoes have been worn by Krishna, you can also start using those shoes as prasad. And the other perspective is that if it is Ekadashi, we don't eat grains, but Krishna, he doesn't have to perform Ekadashi, not at a temple. He can do that at your home, but not at a temple. So then we offer respects to Prashad and say, my dear Prashad, see you tomorrow. Today, Ekadashi Prashad. Yes? So the second perspective is that whatever has been touched by the Supreme Lord is also worshipable. So then we take the shoes and we worship it. We don't use it. So there are two perspectives. So here Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya is using very good logic. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a little confused. He says, all right, first of all, you're saying that you and your wife did not have to exert much, but I can see my eyes. They see the truth. I cannot be fooled. I know that there must have been a lot of efforts being put here. He said, no. Then how is this possible? He says, the person who was supposed to eat was the person who gave us all the energy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like, who is that? Who was supposed to eat? And Sarva Bhattacharya, these are mental conversations that are happening. These are not actual conversations. So we are trying to just enjoy this episode here. Have fun. The person who was supposed to eat this lunch is the person who empowered us. So it's not we who did it, it was the empowerment that was given to us. That is the reason for all this food preparation. Person who's supposed to eat, that is me. Mental conversation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like, I empowered them. And Sarvam Bhattacharya is saying, there are two perspectives here again. Even Krishna has eaten it, no? So Krishna has empowered it. He has empowered us to cook. However, very cheekily, he is saying that Krishna is Krishna Chaitanya. So actually it is you and still not you. It is you who have empowered me to cook and you have eaten it. However, you are not going to accept it. Therefore, it is not you. This is called as Achintya Veda Veda. Inconceivably one and different at the same time. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, all right, Sarvabhauma, there's a problem. You convinced me that sitting on the seat is actually wicked. You convinced me that you have been empowered by the Supreme Lord. How can I eat this sheer volume of food? Because both of us know that this is sufficient to feed dozens of people. Like hundreds of men and women can be fed. You think, me alone can do it? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, hmm. And what do you do at the Jagannath temple? At the Jagannath temple, you eat 52 times a day. And each time, hundreds of buckets filled with prasad. For this, the next time when you visit Jagannath temple, if you get an opportunity, go and see those pots in which they cook for Jagannath. There are hundreds of pots. The smallest size is like this big. The largest size is like maybe about 8 feet tall. They have to use tools to look inside and put the ingredients. And they're really sturdy enough to lift that pot, and after the food has been cooked, they transfer it. So at the temple, you eat 52 times a day. At Dwarka, you have 16,108 queens in 16,108 palaces, and you eat in every single one of them lunch at the same time. In Vrindavan, your father, your father's elder brothers, your father's younger brothers, your maternal uncles, the husbands of your father's sisters, other cowherd men, your cowherd boyfriends, all of them, they offer you food. Because when Krishna goes for lunch every single day, everyone is carrying an extra lunch box for Krishna. Every house packs a lunch box for their child and for Krishna. So Mother Yashoda, she is concerned that I have to reciprocate. I have to have lunch boxes for each of these boys too. So Krishna says, I'm so tired. How do you think I can carry all of those lunch boxes? So Mother Yashoda says, all right, I'll send servants. He says, servants, and what is the use of we being, no, we want to be just by ourselves. Our playtime. We don't want any elders there. So finally Mother Yashoda says, what can I do? People will blame me that I don't reciprocate with their children, but what can I do? My son doesn't want me to. So finally Krishna just travels with one lunch box, and that becomes manifold amongst the cowherd boyfriends when they sit and have prasad. They're like, you can have one, you can have one, you can have one. It's like the Jesus miracle there. Everyone has unlimited food from Krishna's lunchbox, and Krishna takes all the food preparations that has been sent by the residents of his village, every single one of them, and he finishes all of that. And his friends never ever think that he's a glutton. They're like, yeah, our Krishna can do that just as he can dance on Kaliya's hoods. I mean, who dances on a snake's hood or hoods? Who does that? He does it. So, yeah, we have an alien amongst us. We are happy with that. We have an ET, extraterrestrial amongst us. That is how the coward boys would think. And we are perfectly fine. He's one of us. We don't think he's an ET. You may think that. But him dancing on Kalia, him eating so much of food, he can drink in fire too. We have seen that happen. So they are totally okay. So he says, Vrindavan, that is what you do. And at Govardhan, when you perform the Giriraj Leela, how much did you eat? You're not satisfied with all the pantries being empty. They had to send an SOS call to all their relatives beyond. Can we borrow food from a pantry? Our groceries are done. And they're like, what? Go to Walmart. They said, Walmart's finished. All the shelves are empty. At the very first Costco, all the malls, the grocery Sorry, the grocery stores, everything's empty. We need to dig in. So please send. So the supply chains have to really be activated now. Big time. So they sent in. He eats all of that and says, Anyor! So Sarva Bhattacharya is saying, I know all of this history. I know about you. So you cannot fool me. Please, my dear Lord, please don't make me feel unqualified. At Giriraj, you accepted everyone's offerings. In Jagannath Puri, you accept all the offerings. In Dwarka, you accept the offerings of all the queens. In Braj, you accept. So, am I an outcast? No, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hasn't put in a spot. It's fun to put God in a spot. Try it sometimes. It's very healthy, but in a favorable manner, not in an unfavorable manner. So that is the beauty of the Vedic texts. The Vedic texts, they sometimes put God in such uncomfortable situations that God feels like, my God, I wish I were a devotee and not God. Because they are having so much fun. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes as a devotee, the mode of a devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sits down smilingly and eats. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knows that there is a problem at his house. The problem is his son in law. He's a very good person, very, very good person. Absolutely no issues. His son in law and his daughter, they are great together. His son in law is very good with them. But the son in law has a huge insecurity problem. He becomes very insecure if there is another guest at the house. He just wants to be the only person to be pampered at the house. Now you have to kind of stay in India to know how son-in-laws get pampered. Because typically in those days, today it's a little different, but sometimes in the past, after marriage, the daughter had to move in with the young man's family. So they understand the psychology of human relationship. If they treat the son-in-law like God himself, then their daughter would be treated as a goddess. Nice. But this facility can be abused a lot too. They're like, I want to be treated as a god, I don't want to treat anyone as a goddess too. So abuse can be there. However, the thought behind all of these customs was very wholesome, or is still very wholesome. So he doesn't want anyone else to be treated or pampered at all. Because then he feels that, what if I'm left out? So insecurity issues. Some people, their hardware may be good, but their operating systems may have an inherent flaw. So they are very, very subject to Trojan attacks. The firewalls are not really, really very good. So the son-in-law did not have a very good firewall up. Insecure. So what would he do? If he got the information that a guest is arriving at the house of Sarvam Bhattacharya, he would make it a point to be there and critique the guest in great disdain. Like, what? A person like you doesn't deserve to have such respect. And then you look at his father and like, Is this what I can expect from my wife's family? So critical. He finds a way to be critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, Sarvam Bhattacharya had made a lot of efforts to see that his son-in-law could be kept away from his house. He did not have security up, but because that would not be correct, not very respectful. But he had, through various pleasing words, convinced his son-in-law not to come. But the son-in-law knew that he had to come. Now, if you have convinced someone in the best of ways, using the most respectful words, that we do not expect you to be here. And if that person shows up, that shows that they are really, I mean, well, the manners, I guess. So the son-in-law show up. Sarvam Bhattacharya had made it very clear. So constantly he would have either his wife or somebody else or himself be at the main door. And if his son-in-law showed up, he would say, some reason. And the son-in-law would be compelled to leave. But as he was dealing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his insisting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please sit. It's perfectly all right. And I know what is your capacity. The son-in-law found a moment. He sneaked in. Came up right before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What could Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya do now? So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is like feeling so embarrassed. He knows that this is his definite, it's going to create an issue here. Definitely. There's nothing that can be done. It's when somebody tells you, sorry, your system's crashed. We cannot recover anything now. So you realize that was the moment. And true to his personality, his son-in-law, whose name was Amogha, he criticizes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You are a sannyasi, you are a man of the renounced order. Look at all this food that you are having in private. So this is what you do in private? Sarvam Bhattacharya couldn't tolerate it anymore. He started shouting at his son-in-law. He said, whatever happens to my daughter, I'll see to it later on. What is the effect of this? He started shouting at him and he started running at him. Amogha realized, running towards him, Amogha realized, I'm not safe anymore. Yeah? I don't have that immunity anymore. He runs away. Sarvam Bhattacharya is so disturbed, he forgets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sitting right there. Right now, his consciousness is completely overcome with wanting to drive Amogha away. He picks up a stick. Like from somewhere, violence manifests within him. Wanting to be violent, picks up a stick and is running after him. Most probably wouldn't hit him, but he is like showing him the stick. This is what you deserve. So Amogha runs away. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's wife, she becomes so distraught. She's like, now she's just a simple lady at home. She's well read, well studied, but she's a simple lady. So the most distressful way that she can react is, I wish my daughter were never married, and now since she is married, I wouldn't mind if she becomes a widow. She doesn't say directly that he should die because that would be too disrespectful. So, so she becomes so distraught, so distressed. But not she doesn't fall down to the level of her son-in-law. So she doesn't criticize him. She couldn't come up with that. I wish I wouldn't mind if my daughter becomes a widow. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is laughing and laughing and laughing because he had always seen Sarvam Bhattacharya behave in a very refined manner and speak the most refined language. Today there were so many slurs in the words that he was using, but they were all refined slurs. Yeah. Like from uptown slurs, not down. Like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like, really? My ears was thirsty to hear this. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what are you doing? He said, sorry, my dear Lord. I don't know where that came from. But you don't deserve this. He says, no, no, no. What you're speaking was the truth. As a sannyasi, this is not what I should be doing. So I think it is Krishna's indication to me. You don't worry. Please, my dear Lord, forget about it. Please eat. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw that he was so distraught, he was feeling so distressed, I'd better eat. He'd feel better. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate everything. And then he got up to leave, washed his hands, feet. They offered the Lord some spices, and they gave him some dakshina, some gift. And then he accompanied Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his residence, sent him off. And when it was time to take his leave, he again fell down at his feet, begging forgiveness. Please forgive me, my Lord. I invited you there, and I never realized that my invitation would turn out to be disrespect for you. No one deserves that, especially not you. So please forgive me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, forget about it, Sarvabhauma. You're again bringing me to that episode, and I'm still thinking of all the wonderful preparations that were there. Let me still live with that. Let me have that taste. Sorry, my fellows. So somehow the other he pacified him. Sarvabhaum goes home. At home, he goes into a sulky mood. His wife is in a sulky mood. It's like, if somebody is a grave criminal, then by law that person should be punished, should be sent to dungeons or even corporal punishment. But then, also this person happens to be related to me. So how can I even think of something like that? So I had better give up my life. But even that I cannot do because my life is not mine, it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. It doesn't belong to me. So I'll fast. I'll perform this austerity for purifying myself of this infection. I'll fast. Amogha was so scared that he went incognito. He just ran away to some place. No one knew where. And he turned up the next day. When he comes back to his house, he is struck with severe cholera. The news is brought to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gets this news, this is the verse he speaks. Ayu Shriyam Yashodharmam Lokan Ashisha Evacha Anti Shreyamsi Sarvani Pungso Mahad Atikrama. If one consciously wants to hurt other living entities for no reason at all, for imagined some insecurity that they have in their imagination. What to speak of wanting to hurt great souls, great personalities? Then they lose everything that they have. Their possessions, respect, status, life itself. Wherefrom did Amogha get involved with such unbecoming qualities? That is a subject matter of great research. Very soon we are going to celebrate Nrsimha Chaturdashi. It is explained that in one of the commentaries that when Nrsimhadev he did that surgery on Hiranyakashipu, laparotomy, he opened up his stomach and his heart, his chest, not his heart, his chest. The commentator is saying that Lord Nrsimhadev was feverishly searching inside his persona, especially his heart. Where did these qualities come from? Where are these qualities hiding? Where are these qualities hiding? Within Hiranyakashipu. I need to rip out these qualities. So where do these qualities come? How is it that as humans we harbor them? Is a subject matter of great research for every human to engage in and find out a solution so that one can be free from that. And the process of this great research is called as Krishna consciousness. That is why we practice Krishna consciousness consciously. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We have a presentation right now. If there are any questions, we can take it offline, one-on-one. Is that all right? Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Rohinipriya Prabhu ki
Jai.